All right, so I really think there's 3 ways to live life. There's following your intuition. Choice 2 is doing the logical, objective best thing you could do. And choice 3 is following the social narrative of what you should do. What your parents want you to do. What your friends and peers are doing. What society expects you to do. And when making decisions in life, lots of times there will be overlap between those 3 things, but overall people have a general propensity to either follow their intuition, to do the most objective, logical, best decision possible, or to do the social narrative, what do my parents want me to do, what are all my friends doing, social conditioned decision. And in this video I'm going to talk about following your intuition. Now for me in my life, I'm a very weird guy. I've done lots of very weird stuff. I've dropped out of college. I've lived a very weird path in my life where I definitely haven't done the social conditioned, what you're supposed to do path. I have more of a rebellious personality where I want to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Everyone's wearing normal clothes, I'll be wearing a gold jacket. Everyone's going to college, I'll drop out of college. Everyone's meeting girls through social circles, I'll try to pick up girls, I always want to do the opposite. But I think most people try to do the most objectively logical best thing they could do when making decisions. But for me, what I found in my life is when I follow my intuition, even if my intuition is taking me on a weird path, that's when I live the best life, and that's when my life turns into the biggest adventure that it could be. And what I mean by this is, in the video game Zelda, right? Zelda Ocarina of Time, the main character Link has a fairy that is just this fairy that follows around him as you play the game, right? And the fairy sometimes will give him tips and give him guidance. That's kind of how I see our intuition, that fairy that Link has in Zelda. And how I live my life is I listen to that inspiration. I listen to my own little fairy. I'm walking around life and I pretend I have a little fairy, and I listen to what does it tell me to do. And then lots of times in really big decisions, I just get this intuition build up, it's time to drop out of college. You gotta drop out of college. You're not meant to be here. And even though logically it's I should be in college, but it's I follow that intuition and boom, I drop out of college. And over time I look back and I was I'm so glad I dropped out of college. Best decision I've ever made. Or leaving the whatever channel. It's my intuition was just blaring. Even though you're making money, you're getting famous, you're living the dream you wanted to live 2 years before, you got YouTube famous for doing pranks, my intuition was nope, stop, time to do vlogs, time to do your own thing, My intuition was blaring. And lots of times, people tell you to do this thing, logically it seems like this is the best decision, but when you follow your intuition, things just work out magically. And over time, I've learned to trust my intuition on more farther out things. So something like dropping out of college, for example. It's decisions that are more dangerous, scary decisions. When my intuition tells me to do something now, I'm more jump into it and I trust my intuition compared to how I lived 2 years ago or 5 years ago. I've learned that I could trust my intuition. And as you go through life, you'll either learn you could trust your logic, make the best objective decision, or you could trust your intuition. And I want to guide you guys on learning to trust your intuition, learning to trust your heart. Where does it guide you? And this has lots to do with big decisions like dropping out of college. But for me, the other night, it was 3 a.m. I couldn't fall asleep, and for some reason my intuition was just telling me, my little fairy, my intuition was telling me, take an adderall. I've never had that thought in my brain before to take an adderall at 3 a.m. And I was fuck it, my intuition is telling me, let's do it. I took an adderall and ended up doing all these awesome things. The timing worked out perfectly with how things happened the following day. And it's when I trust my intuition, synchronicities happen, and it's just the timing works out. It's almost I tap into a higher self. I tap into God. It's there's this guidance, almost the Force in Star Wars. I could tap into a higher force. And the more I trust my intuition, the more I learn to trust it. And it's weird, sometimes my intuition just blares out at me. A month ago it was take down your how to get your dream girl video, and my intuition was take that video down, and I realized that video didn't quite have the complete message that I wanted to give, so I took that video down. Sometimes my intuition is blaring, and I've noticed over time, as I do the things I need to do and get into this flow of life, I'm really in tune with my intuition, and things are working out really well for me. And then I have times when I'm like depressed and like my intuition isn't there at all. And I have to like crawl back into like the flow of life to get that fairy like telling me what to do again. And I have these times where I have these like peak experiences like a couple times a year where it almost feels like my intuition, like my like little fairy, if I'm Link, like my intuition and me like merge as one. Or you know, you could say like your higher self and this Luke like merge as one. And it's like I completely get into the flow of life. I'm like one with nature. It's like I tap into God mode. And it's almost like I'm like, instead of me like walking, it's almost like the ground moving. It's not me moving, it's the ground moving. I like become one with life. I'm just like floating through air. All my decisions I'm making are like straight from my intuition. I don't even like have that echo where my intuition tells me to do something and then I do it. It's like there's no echo. I'm like one with my intuition. And when I'm in those like ultra high states, it's where I could really learn that I could trust my intuition, because that's when it like guides me. There's like extra synchronicities. I'm in this like great place. So when I'm like depressed and I'm like crawling out the tunnel, I know I could trust my intuition, because when I've had those peak level experiences, I know like I become one with my intuition. I'm not doing the logical best thing. I'm doing what my intuition tells me to do. So I think there's like a process to like learning to trust your intuition and doing farther and farther out riskier things your intuition tells you to do, and you have to learn to trust it. You have to kind of like train your intuition. But I want to end this video with the question for you guys. Do you think we exist to live a logical existence? And when I think of how do I want to live my life, I always pretend if I was God in like a video game, I think that's the most empowering belief you could have about life. How would you program your own life to be? Would it be to live a logical life, or would you be to live more like a life based on like following your intuition and like, you know, I almost feel like a surfer like riding waves of intuition and getting in the zone. And I think the answer is I think we're here to live an emotional life. I don't think we are quite here to live a logical life. Do we even live in an objective universe? If a tree falls in the forest, does it even really happen? Or does the universe only exist subjectively? So I want you guys to think, when you're making decisions, are you following your intuition? Are you following the objective best logical thing to do? Or are you doing the socially conditioned, programmed thing that you should do that other people are doing, and you're just doing it because other people are doing it? And really see, can you start trusting your intuition more and train yourself to trust your intuition? And you might like doing more far out, crazier things with your life and go on like big adventures where you learn your intuition is your best guide, the little fairy. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it got you thinking. Trust your... Sometimes life just fucking sucks. I've been through severe depressions before in my life where I just don't even want to get out of bed. Like, why do I even exist? What's the point of all this chaos?